Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Get Ready podcast. Now, I want to apologize to everyone to say that I haven't been posting very recently, like before. But I will give an explanation to this. Okay, so I recently got a new job, and it is a job that's 5 days a week, 9 to 5. Very classic. So I'm actually got a full time job now again, and it's the hours are very. I'm trying to get used to the hours. So bear with me as I will be putting out podcast episodes every month. So what's gonna happen is until I can get used to these hours and start figuring out better ways to try to accommodate other people, because I do like to try and accommodate my guests, so they don't really have to worry as much as I'm the one who has to run around and hopefully meet with them in certain places and stuff. So with that being said, the episode, the episodes that will be coming up won't be as frequent as before, as I had other prior commitments and other things I had to do. So there's times the other episodes wouldn't get posted as much. So as of right now, I'm going to just tell everybody that they won't be as frequent, and probably I will guarantee to release at least one episode a month. But if I can get up more, like I can get to more guests and stuff, I will upload as much episodes as I can. But I will guarantee to everybody right now that I will be at least uploading one episode a month. Sadly to say, I know as much as anyone else that it sucks. So I just wanted to really say that, though, that I did want to actually post and tell people that I need to go back on it, not by choice, but I have to go back on the podcast a little bit. But as for now, I did want to get out some something out there just to let people know that this is really happening. That I can't put out as much as I want, so sad to say. So that's the update on the podcast. Sorry about that. And as of now, I'm just going to probably give an update and talk about some stuff. So as of recently, like I said, I got a new job. I'm working on that, and it's keeping me quite busy a lot of the times, on and off hours. But yeah, so I recently got hired as a nutritionist slash cook at a healing facility. So I'm working with a lot of youth, which is great. It's a fantastic job. I love it so far. Menu planning, everything. So it's, like I said, it's the whole 9 yards. It's something I really, really, really enjoy. Now, with that being said, there were opportunities I had before I got this job where I was going to be teaching people proper kitchen use. And now, when I say that, I want to let a lot of people know that it is 100% belief that, to me, that a lot of our people are losing the ability to cook. And with that ability, they're not able to understand how food works. And you don't need to be a nutritionist or dietitian to even understand how important food really is to our system and how much it actually affects our bodies. Sorry, a lot. So with this, I just want to explain to people that my philosophy on food, if I haven't done this already, is I just want to reiterate and explain to people that it's very important that we start treating our bodies, is like, and take care of them, as well as, like, say, some people who are passionate about, like, a car. There are some people who will change the oil frequently, the fluids. They'll check everything on it, make sure everything's running fine if they can do it themselves. And we should be doing that with our bodies, because we only have one, and we only have one leg, one foot, all that jazz. So what I'm trying to tell people is, I'll give an example of how I handle myself. Now, I not recently, but every year I do a physical. So with that physical, I will make sure, I will ask the doctor to go over everything. Usually it's my annual. So I've started this when I was about 28 years old. I'm 30 now. So what that means is I just go to the doctors every year, usually in January, and I just ask them to go over everything, like whatever they have to do. So usually, if I have to, that usually entails them just checking my body, looking at everything, asking how I feel, if anything's changed over the past year, and blood work is very, very, very important. You should get your blood work done every year because if there's any anything strange or odd or any changes in it'll show up in your blood. Like, it will show up, and the doctors will inform you that they need to do further tests. So it's very important that you get a physical every year, just to make sure everything's running fine. If there is something in your body, it's better to catch it early than to catch it later and have to deal with something very, very, dangerous, whether that's any kind of disease or cancer or anything like that. Your body is constantly telling you warnings every day if there's something that's sore. So, let's put it this way: if your body starts to give off like pain, or starts to like have sharp pain, shooting pain, there's all these different types of pain that go with the body, and it will tell you if something's wrong. Meaning, if you don't know what it exactly means, you should really go to your doctors and explain. Don't go by chance, or don't do the guy mentality and say, oh, well, it stopped hurting, so it's okay now. If something's really bothering you, you should really go to the doctors and really just let them know what it is, and they'll check it out. If they don't know right away, they'll check it out for you. It's that simple. And like I said, it makes it easier and it's safer to do, as opposed to dealing with something later down the road that you could have caught this early and got rid of it. Those are a lot of success stories when it comes to our health. Is a lot of people will go to the doctors and they will say, oh, well, you have early signs of some kind of cancer, but we can get rid of it because we caught it at its earliest stage. So even if something was developing, you were able to get rid of it. And that's why I always preach to people that it's very important to go to the doctors all the time. All the time. I can't stress that enough to people, that it's very, 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 very important that you should do that, just for the sake of your own health. Oh, sorry. Anyways, so with that, on to the food. Now, when it comes to food, I work with a lot of people, and I have worked with a lot of people, and most people don't get the way I get food. Not that I'm special, or I'm not saying people are dumb or nothing like that, but I just have a very, very, very different look at food. I don't look at it as a pleasure, or this is a treat, because I'm not a dog. I don't look at it in a sort of kind of pleasurable way, although it is. But I'm just saying, when I look at food, I'm looking at, well, what can this do for me? How can this food work for me? There's a saying that people use, that they'll say, I don't eat food that I like. I eat food that likes me. Meaning that it's good, healthy food. Like, it's something that's actually going to help you in the long run. So when people actually have like a salad, or they eat something like chicken breast or something like that, and it's not slathered in cheese or gravy or a processed food or something to top it, like, you can have those things, but in a more conservative way. Like, really just kind of going back on your food, and really understanding that you can't always keep indulging as much, otherwise you will put on weight. You will be hurting yourself, like, whether that's your liver, your kidneys, your heart, your lungs. There's all these different things that can happen to our bodies if we don't really just take care of it. And that's something I just want to always reiterate to everybody, that look after your body now, especially the younger you are, because you may think that you're okay and everything's fine, and nothing's ever going to happen to you. Excuse me. And then something does. And it's very unexpected. I think a lot of people had moments where you're thinking everything's fine, you're doing okay, and then something just happens. And in a matter of seconds, your life changes. And then it's funny to think that just a few minutes ago, you were completely fine and your world was okay. But then when you found out this thing happened, everything changes. Everything. And you have to understand that The world's not going to stop for you just because something happened. You have to really just pick everything up and start going with it, whatever that could be. I will give a story of myself. I don't know if you follow the Get Ready Facebook page, but I recently put something on there the about motivation, and I'm going to talk about this because I feel it's very important to give my own personal view on it, and then hopefully you can take away from it. But so last year, my dad, Bob Anton, passed away in December. And I never would have anticipated how much it would have affected me. And it really did. It's my dad. And it was hard because, like I said, I didn't anticipate how hard this entire thing was going to be and how much it was going to affect me, because there'd be days where I was completely fine. And there's days where the entire day sucked. The entire day was terrible. Like, I hated everything. I hated myself. I hated my life. I hated whatever was happening to me. Like, I didn't care. Like, nothing was going to change my mood because it was so bad. And in that case, and in that time, I didn't really consider what was happening, because I started having really bad anxiety attacks. It was so bad I felt like I was having a heart attack. And it just was really everything was caving in on me. Like, I felt like it wasn't getting better. It really wasn't getting better. I wasn't taking care of myself, especially about something that big. Like, that was a terrible month. I don't really think I had that much of a good time in December. Not only did I leave my job, but I also, my dad passed. So that was a huge deal, where everything just felt like it was going away. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do, because I didn't realize that, not having a proper income, that was also also another pile of pressure and stress that was on top of me, including my dad. So I just constantly kept finding myself in a very hard state and didn't know how to handle anything. So for the all of month of December and a lot of January, I think it even went into February. Like I said, I didn't know what was happening. All of a sudden there'd be days I would just find myself crying, like for a whole day. I'd be sad the entire time. The entire time I just constantly would be crying, or I'd be really, really upset, sad, depressed. All these things would just constantly get to me. And I wouldn't know what it would be. There'd be days where, before, I couldn't barely even mention his name or think about my dad without, breaking down. And it was just constantly happening. It was constantly happening. And one time after an anxiety attack, I remember I went to talk to my mom. And I remember she told me, she said, you should probably go see somebody about this. So I was arranged to see a healer. And when I went there, I went and talked with her, and it was the first step. Like, it really was the first step, because in that first step, that was everything I needed. Half of it, I should say. Because in that process, part of it was I had this... Well, let me explain this part first. When all that happened, I didn't honestly know what was happening, because I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know what came with it. I just thought, well, it happened. I was going to be sad for that month and then get back on with life, but still be missing my dad. But it was constantly at me. It was constantly getting to me every time. I had this stupid guy mentality about being tough, or I have to be tough or I have to be strong. And I wasn't thinking about the idea of getting help, like getting someone to help me with just this big of an issue, like just as big as what's happening. I never thought about that. I just kept constantly thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna be good." No, I'm okay. I'm okay. Like I'll be okay. Like I'd constantly be lying to myself all the time, knowing I should probably do something, but I didn't think about that. So I would be constantly lying to myself. And I know this is such a guy thing. Like this is the reason why I'm saying this, because part of it was I would constantly cry. Not really in public. There was a few times, but I didn't really show it. Like I would constantly be hiding away from all this stuff, and it would just be hitting me all the time, and I wouldn't be thinking about it. It was so stupid. So with that happening, I was always being sad, all the time. It would always get to me. It would always bug me. It would always make me feel bad until I finally got that help. And that's part of it is, why are we afraid to ask for help? That's one thing that I don't think a lot of guys really consider. And there are some women as well. But I know a lot of guys that for some reason always feel like they need to be tough all the time. Like they have to have a persona where they're not going to let anyone see them cry or be sad or anything, which is I don't get, because crying is an emotion that we need to express. And when it's going to happen, we really need to express it rather than hold it in. Sorry. So with that, I went to see the healer and I got the help I needed. It was very important for the first step. And with that, it helped a little bit. But that healer told me I needed to see an older male figure to talk about this stuff. It was very important. So I went and saw, there's a man that works at Sohac. I can't remember his last name, which is killing me, but his first name is Richard. And I went to see him, and that was probably like one of the hugest steps. That was to help me a lot. Was talking to this man. And what I found even more beautiful was it wasn't my quote unquote traditions, his version, because he was Ojibwe. But it was very beautiful to get another perspective on on another nation's way of grieving. So he gave me all this knowledge and this stuff that I keep with me to this day about how to deal with it. And part of it is just, when there's a storm, buffaloes, they don't turn away from it. They embrace it and they run towards it. And that's something I still hold to this day about it, because it makes sense. You don't try to run away from your problems, even if they're going to hurt, even if it's really going to be bad and it's going to affect you. No, you don't. What you do is you go towards it. That's how you deal with these things, because running away doesn't solve anything, because you're always going to be running away. You're always going to be taken off, and you're never ever going to be the person that you should be. You'll never ever be the full, complete version of yourself. You'll always be a lesser version if you keep running away from your problems. And, that was just a huge, huge help. And it was great. I can't help but always think that it was probably one of the better things I've ever done, was just to understand that I needed that help. And I used to have that teenage, I don't need anyone's help, I can do it on my own. But as I got older, I just realized, you can do everything on your own. You really need to always be able to, stick out a hand and either ask for help or help somebody. And that's what was so important to me. That's what made it so important. So after that, all that went through, and I went to the healer, I talked to somebody, immediately everything started changing. Immediately. I started feeling better. I started feeling like I really just had to go, keep going with it, because you don't ever get over something as important as like a parent or your father dying. So you just learn to live with it, cope with it, understand it. And of course it's always going to be hard, and of course you're always going to have, a moment to yourself, but you just have to keep learning to understand and go on with life. That's all. And nothing's wrong with that. Whoever we miss isn't an object that we have or whatever. Everything they are is in our heart and our mind. So I just say that anywhere I go, I'm taking my dad with me. I'm bringing him with me everywhere I go, because I still remember a lot of the conversations I've had with him when it was just me and him, when we went to the States a lot, when we went to Texas. The last few years I was always going to his house, and I would just talk to him. Talk about whatever. That's all. And it was great. Those are the moments I remember, and his teachings that he'd give me and the things he would tell me. Because even though my dad wasn't always there when I was growing up, he always was there. I think that's something a lot of people don't understand, is even though my dad wasn't there officially, kind of, he was there all the time. And, he never left us. People have this weird idea that he just booked it and ran, but he never did. He stayed around, and he was always there for us. Anything we needed help with or wanted or talked to, he never ever refused. He never ever said no. He was always there. And I think that's important for people to know, that my dad never ran away, because he was always there. But with all that happening, then I finally started getting better, and I started getting better. And what did occur is I slowly started getting better, I should say. Because I still had moments, I still had times. And it was, give or take, I'd have good days and bad days. But you just learn to go with everything. And the biggest thing I'll say now is, I know this is going to sound really weird to a lot of people, but I truly felt like myself again. Like complete. Back to my old self before all this happened last December, when Mr. Olympia was happening and Sean Roden beat Phil Heath. Now, I wasn't up for it, but what happened was my fiance, Ashley, she actually woke me up because I fell asleep. But she actually woke me up because it was her birthday. And she actually woke me up and told me, but, I was really tired, and I do remember hearing something. And then the next day, it was this weird, I can't explain it, but it was this weird feeling that it almost felt like I left my older self and I became new. And I started to think about, well, bodybuilding was something I've always did for about 5-6 years now. And the first real person that, when I wanted to do it, when I first started getting when I started going to the gym all the time, lifting weights and everything, the first person that really gave me support in all of that and didn't kind of give me a snicker or scoff at me saying it or kind of laugh or something was my dad. He was the one that actually was one of the only people that actually kind of pushed me forward in that. And it was encouraging because I did, like, nobody else saw it that way. When I first started and I first started doing it and everything like that, I could see in everybody's faces that they didn't think that I would, you know, continue with it, go with it, or do it. But, I'm still doing it now. But at the time, my dad was the only one that supported me in that. Like, was the very first person to support me. And when Sean Roden won and, beat Phil Heath, that was something that just changed. I don't know what it was, but that whole day that me and Ashley spent in Toronto, because we were in Toronto, I just felt so much better. Like, I honestly felt so good. I honestly felt great. It was just overwhelming. I just, like I said, I can't explain it, but I just felt so amazing that whole day. It was great. I absolutely loved it. And it just made everything feel better. So it took me about, what would that be? Well, 9 months in total, I think. Because that was just last month. So yeah, about 9 months to finally feel like I felt like my older self, like myself before all that happened. I felt like myself again. And that's why I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to tell everybody that bodybuilding does it for them, but something in them will give them that feeling again. It doesn't have to be from TV or entertainment or something. It could be anything. For me, it just happened to be bodybuilding. And that connection was there. So I always think, well, that's probably the best thing I got or I can do. And then I got heavy back into bodybuilding again. I started feeling like myself, and it was great. Now I'm into a whole new, I'm into like a whole new thing about it. It's just re-energized everything. Like, now I go to the gym constantly. I don't have this weight that feels on my body. Like, everything just changed. And like I said, I know it sounds funny to say, but that's what really changed it for me. That's where I knew I was going to officially be okay. It's like Sean Roden winning that Mr. Olympia title and beating Phil Heath also made me feel like a winner in some way. Yeah, like I said, it sounds funny, but that's what it is. Now, part of saying all this and going over all that was just to kind of give an indication to people that it's okay to ask for help. You don't need to always pretend that you're tough or that you're too strong or anything. Like, you can really go out of your way and help people and help yourself. And it's important to help yourself. It's really important to always remember that you're important. Never let anybody else say you're not. Self-love is a very important thing that I think a lot of people overlook, especially people with children. It's okay to take time for yourself. It really is. But, I just wanted to, now let me go into the other part. There is a moment that I wanted to talk about earlier that I kind of went away from. And like I said, it has to go with food. Now let me just go over some of this stuff again. Teaching classes to me was never about really per se like, oh, I have to get rich off of anything. I just never wanted the people to pay for the classes. Like, it should be offered as a free class because everybody should know how to cook. And, it upsets me all the time when people don't know how to cook anything. Or if they do, they always burn it, and they always do like so many other things where like it can cause problems. Sorry. And it's not right. Like, I don't think it's right at all to be having people, especially our own people, like in all the reservations and everything, to be left without the ability to cook for themselves. Making everything out of a box isn't great. There's no nutritional value in any of that stuff. It knowing how to cook can take you so far and save you so much money and energy. And I don't understand when people make so many excuses for not wanting to cook or cook for themselves or anything. It's such a strange idea, but many people are that way. And I get that they want instant food or something, but sometimes you really have to just consider that, consider not only your health, but your family's health as well. And those classes are some of the things that I'm still pursuing even now. I still pursue that. I love teaching people how to cook because it's gratifying. Yeah, I get so much pleasure out of seeing people smile when they can make something because I know now you have this skill. I can only hope that I can help people with their confidence in cooking because I think there is some skill to cooking, but a lot of it has to do with just confidence. If somebody wants to make hard boiled eggs, it's good to know that, the time's on like 10, 14 minutes for hard boil or however you want it soft, whatever. But it's really important, I think, a lot of times to just let people know about the whole, just cooking, the techniques, everything. And a lot of people don't understand how to use their kitchen, how to use knives, what kind of knives are these. And nobody really gives off any information or anything like that. Sure, you can buy a chef's knife, but what is a chef's knife for? Most people don't understand this. I wouldn't say it's an all-purpose knife, but most people do use it in that way. But there are knives, like, serrated knives for bread, fillet knives for fish and everything, but most people don't understand that. And it's something I would rather to teach everybody and show them how to use it all properly so that way they don't feel lost in their kitchen or have to go out and buy fast food or something like that or go to a restaurant every time or when they go grocery shopping they will buy less of the prepackaged stuff because part of all of this has to do with nutrition. There is nutritional value in buying things that don't come in a box. And if you're buying a food that has no nutritional facts, that is fresh food. So like fruit, vegetables, all those kind of things that you find, they won't have nutritional facts because it's real food. And even then, if you're worried about calories are really low in everything that's like fresh. Ooh, so sorry. I'm recording this very late. And I just want everyone to know that, it's super important just to know the basics. You don't have to learn so much to become a chef or anything like that. But just to know the basics, like cutting, cooking, like cooking simple things too. Everybody should know how to cook everyone should know how to like do scrambled eggs even without burning the pan, you know, doing a fried egg. Everyone should know how to do that. Everybody. They're very simple. And when you don't have the confidence, of course you're going to back away from it. Excuse me. So that's why, like I said, I believe it's important that everybody gets to know how to use their kitchen. And that's still something I will pursue for the rest of my life. If I could ever get a full-time job just teaching cooking to the reservations of all of our people and helping them with whatever, that would be the dream job. That would be the job where I could live out the rest of my life happy, knowing that every day I get to go in and teach people how to use their kitchen, how to make food, certain food. Because just think about this. Everything you can get in a restaurant, you can make yourself. And I can guarantee you that it will be cheaper, tastier, and better in a sense of health-wise as well. Because a lot of restaurants won't show you, but in the back they do a lot of cheap tricks to get the food out faster because they have to. And not to mention too that you never know if they're actually doing the right thing in the back, whether it's like cross contamination or anything like that. So that's why it's very important to always cook for yourself. But that's the biggest thing I can tell people. If you're worried about money, that's the best money saver is cooking for yourself, because you buy all your groceries for a week or two, and then you're good to go for that time, and you won't have to worry about anything. You don't spend money. So, like I said, the topic of cooking and food is something I really love. I really, really, really love talking about it, especially with people who are so intrigued and really want to learn. At my new job, I talk with the youth about cooking. Even asking me such a simple question, I will expand on it as much as I can to just give off as much information as I can, because I love doing that. Like I said, it's just something I love. It's a passion for me to teach people cooking and just understanding it. So I hope more people can, really start using their kitchens more. That's my biggest takeaway. I hope that's one of the things I hope people take away, is just learning and understanding about your kitchen. So I hope everybody can get behind that. And yeah. But this podcast, I hope that my story earlier about my healing can help people understand some stuff or whatever. Like, I hope you can take something away from that, because that's, like I said, that's my personal journey. And I hope you can just really learn from it. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There's so many people that are proud, I guess, but they don't see the whole picture on, how you should handle yourself. It's really important that you just really get into it and just, say, I need help. And with the food, like I said, I hope you can understand it more, because I do like to give out these talks every now and then on the podcast about reminding you about the importance of food and how it works, because that is the very first defense against everything. Your mood, your energy levels, your sleep, how you feel, everything has to go with food. That's my own personal philosophy on that. That's how I think we start our day and how our day goes and how we will handle situations, how we handle life, is from what we're putting in our body on a daily basis. Daily. Oh, so sorry. A lot of it works that way, but like, we don't think of it that way, right? Most people think of eating as a secondary thing. Now, I'm not saying you should pour all your time into, like, the kitchen and everything like that. It would be nice, but you don't have to. But at least, consider cooking and making your own food more than you would eating out or eating at, fast food or getting something fast, because I don't believe for once that, most people don't have the time or they're in a rush. They're doing that because they're doing it to themselves. It's it sounds dumb for me to hear people say that I don't have time or I'm really busy. They don't understand that what they're doing half the time, really, they're the ones who are wasting their own time. Nobody's doing it to them. Nobody's doing it to them. Nobody's doing it to themselves. Even at my own job, I consider my own time and how I'm using it. Like, I love where I'm at because I can learn, cook new recipes, and that also goes towards cooking classes when I can get them. So it's the classic get a job that you're going to love to go to every day. Don't get one that pays high in money, because what's that going to do in the end? You're going to be miserable. The stress kicks in, bad eating, all this stuff. There's a whole list of this stuff that goes through that I just don't think people understand. But, that's just, like I said, it's just how it goes. So, yeah, that's part of the problem, is just pretending you don't have time. Because if I followed anybody that told me that through the entire day, I guarantee I'd find 5, 6 hours that you could do this and this and this. There's tons of times I like to tell myself I'm too tired, but if I want shit done, then I'm just going to do it. You can't always keep telling yourself that I'm tired, I can't do this, because, there's days you just have to do it. Whatever it is. So, yeah, in conclusion, I still think a lot of people don't take into consideration what they're doing, but that's where I would like to help out. The food we eat, that's all I do is I read books, I listen to audiobooks on, health and nutrition. And I do it because I believe there's a point that it's going to help people. If I can give somebody a piece of advice on eating salmon, avocados, or walnuts, or almonds, or anything like that, if I can just give off a piece of advice for them and they'll take it and use it, I'd feel better. But not everybody thinks that way. But I hope to change that one time and keep giving our people advice and help them on health and nutrition and just food overall, because it's very important no matter what. I still believe it's that number one step. If you don't want to be sick, you want to build up your immune system, you don't want cancer, you don't want all these things, you got to eat a balanced meal. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I keep coughing. So, in conclusion, I hope all this helps you. This was a giant amount of information I wanted to throw to people and let them know. I wanted to tell you about what's happening with the podcast, why there's not a lot going up. I wanted to explain about the issues on grieving and how you can help yourself, the stories I've given and everything. And even the food and everything, how that works. Because that post on Facebook, I really meant it when I talked about all that stuff in there, because my motivation just shot and came back. And, it's not something that will stay with you. You always have to constantly motivate yourself. It's not easy, but when you find something that can get you out of bed every morning, that can get you to the gym or get you to run, get you to do cycling, whatever it is, it's important that we find these things and then always remind ourselves to use them. I like to tell a lot of parents that it's easy for them because they have kids. They can always look at their kids as motivation, say, I'm going to be a better person for them. Health, fitness, anything. It's easy. It's kind of harder for single people or people who don't have kids, but you guys got to find something, that's all. So, that motivation comes and goes. That's all I can say. But you have to find it, because you will lose it. And if you don't try to keep it with you, you're going to lose it permanently. And that's something that happened to me. So all those months, even though I was still working out, they were never good. It was never good. It never worked out. It was never great. But now I'm back to working out where I just feel 100%. I feel great. And I can't wait to continue on. So, in the end, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I'm glad you can come back, and I hope you're understanding about the whole. I hope you're understanding about the whole point of. I was trying to say at the start, where I can't do it as much, so I'm gonna try and figure out the hours. I'm still talking to people to get them on the podcast, so I'm still having meetings about doing podcasts and getting people to be on. But just letting everyone know now, that's what's happening. Is I don't have. I shouldn't say I don't have, because it's stupid. I have to really understand how my hours work. Because if I get done at 5 every day, then I only have the weekends. But then I don't really. So like I said, I'm just trying to figure out the game plan here before. Because not everybody has work 9 to 5. Not everybody can do it on a weekday. What am I doing on a weekend? So it all changes up. So for the podcast. So just bear with me as we learn this crazy method, and we'll get to it. And we'll have all the time we have together. So with the motivation, with the healthy eating, I hope this all helps. I hope you can understand what I'm trying to do and try to help. Cooking classes or anything, So yeah, without further ado, uh, so after all this, I hope you guys enjoy this podcast and give you an update. And yeah, all right. So thanks for being on. All right, thanks for being part of this. Man, it is late. And hope you enjoyed it. And I will see everybody soon. And like I said, random podcasts could show up anytime, but just know for sure there's always going to be at least one podcast per month. But if I can get something else on, I will put it up right away. So sometimes a random podcast may just show up on any kind of topic, subject, person, place, thing, whatever. So you won't go for being part of this. Bujo. Wait, that's not it. Ugh, I can't believe I'm forgetting this. Now I feel like a fool on my own podcast. But yeah, thanks for being part of this, and I'd like to thank you for coming along, and I will see everybody next time. Igiwa.